1,
2,
3,
4.
Monster movie.
Fun time, go! Monster movie.
Fun time, go. Monster.
Movie.
Fun time.
Go!
Monster movie. Fun time, go.
With Precious D and Honeybee.
Fun time, go!
Hello, welcome everyone to Monster Movie Fun Time Go. I am Precious D.
And I am Honeybee.
Honeybee, should we talk about our special October project?
Yeah, let's do it.
So last year I did a 31 Days of Horror where I watched at least one horror movie every day.
Insert Wilhelm scream now.
for the Halloween season. And at that time, all I did was post each movie on Instagram or Twitter. But now that we have this podcast, I thought I'd make some content out of that because I'm going to do it again.
Woo!
So the plan is to do a bunch of just little mini episodes, just 5 or 10 minute things where I give a quick review rather than a whole in-depth breakdown like we do normally.
Right.
I'm inviting some guests because I think, Honeybee, you're not going to be able to do 31 Days of Horror.
Right.
You might be joining me for some of those, but some I'll do by myself and some I will have guests. And we'll do our regular episodes during that time. So we'll see how it goes and how people like it. And then we will culminate, though, with a special Halloween episode where we do a full episode, Honeybee and I, with a new, I don't think I'm going to say what it is yet, but it is a new Halloween movie that is coming out in October.
Yay!
So that is our special Halloween project. Drop us a line. Let us know what you think. We're at monstermoviefuntimego@gmail.com. Or you can go to our anchor page, anchor.fm/mmftg, and leave us a voice message. So let's get into today's movie, Rodan.
Rodan
Rodan is best known for his sculpture, The Thinker.
Mm-hmm.
No, that's a different Rodan. That is spelled differently. That is Rodin. This is Rodan, a pterodon of some kind. 1956, color.
Is it 56? I thought it was 58.
No, 56 is the year I have. Color, 82 minutes. Directed by our buddy Ishiro Honda. Music by Akira Ifukube, same guy that did the Godzilla music. Kenji Sahara plays Suguru Kawamura, and I particularly want to mention him because he is going to show up in a bunch more of these movies.
Oh, okay.
Does not appear to ever play the same character twice, but he'll show up in a bunch of them, so we will keep an eye out for him. And Yumi Shirakawa plays Kyo, and apparently she is known as the Japanese Grace Kelly.
Oh, really?
I wasn't quite seeing it. I tried to be like Grace Kelly, but all her looks were too sad.
Wow, wow.
I watched both the American and the Japanese versions just to see if there was a difference.
Mm-hmm.
There's a minor difference, but before I get into that, I want to mention that in the American version, the voice of the police chief is Paul Frees, who you would probably recognize. He's done a lot of cartoon voices.
Oh, really?
And he was Burgermeister Meisterburger in Santa Claus is Coming to Town.
Nope.
No, you don't know Santa Claus is Coming to Town?
Mm-mm.
It's one of those Rankin and Bass puppet-mation, stop-motion Christmas specials.
Oh, okay. Maybe I do know.
And he's done a lot of those, as well as a lot of cartoon work. So you'd probably know his voice if you heard him. The American version, the only real difference is that it starts off with a little narration and some images of atomic bombs. Mm-hmm. And just talks about atomic bombs a little bit, which I thought and apart from that, everything else appears to be the same, just dubbed. But I thought that was kind of weird because in Godzilla, the American version cut out all references to atomic weapons. And in Rodan, they wanted to put it front and center because they don't mention the possibility of atomic weapons till way into the movie.
Yeah.
And even then, they're not certain. They're just speculating.
Right.
So,
So the American version, it wasn't like Godzilla where they took the footage. They actually dubbed it.
yeah, they just dubbed it and they just added. They didn't add whole characters like in
Thank
the
the
Godzilla.
Lord.
They just added a little bit of narration at the beginning.
Well,
Not
I
sure.
am very happy about that. I just want to throw it out there. I am
Okay.
so glad that happened.
Again, I don't have a budget, but I have a box office of 143 million yen. Featured monsters are mega neurons and Rodans.
Rodan's with an S
Yep.
at the end.
And Rodan is 164 feet tall with a wingspan of 394 feet. And I have a death count of 94, including monsters.
Yeah, this movie, it was cool. The death count was like with the quickness. It was like dead. Next scene, dead. Next scene, dead. Lots of action in this one.
Yeah, what are your initial thoughts?
I liked it. I liked this movie. I felt like the acting was good. There was plenty of monster in it quickly. And they did this thing in this movie where, you know, they gave you little snippets throughout the movie, little teasers here and there, little monster stuff. And then, you know, storyline in the middle, like a movie should be. You hear that, Hollow Mountain?
So, yeah, I liked it too. We have a combination of suit work and models for the flying parts.
Mm-hmm.
There's not a guy in the suit when he's soaring through the air. It's some kind of model.
Yeah,
Very
at one
rigid
point
wings.
I saw like string or something at one point. Like,
there's a lot of string.
Yeah.
He does a little bit of sort of lifting off when it's the guy in the suit, but then when he's just sort of soaring, it's some kind of a model. But yeah, there was one point when he looked like a damn marionette. He had so many wires hanging off of him. But we open on a mining mountain town. Some miners are heading to work. The day shift is on its way in, and they say to one of the guys, "Did you get in another fight?"
Mm-hmm.
And when they get into the little prep room where they wait to get in the train that goes down into the mine, he gets in another fight. They apparently are continuing their drunken brawl from last night. Yoshizu and Goru are apparently always fighting.
Yes.
But then the night shift gets off and the day shift gets on the little train and goes down into the mine. And then we cut to an office where the engineers are working, the white collar mine workers, and they mention global warming.
Yes.
In 1956.
I wrote this down as well. It's crazy, right?
Yeah. They say that it's so hot, and they mention the theory of global warming.
Mm-hmm.
Now, I'm not bringing this up to dismiss global warming, just that it's been a concern that we should have been looking at in 1956. It might not be such a concern now if we'd taken proper notice back in 1956.
Indeed.
But we didn't.
But we did not. Not even close.
Yeah. So these are the engineers, and there's a call comes in that there's flooding in the West Pit.
Mm-hmm.
And they think that's odd because there's not normally any water there at all.
Right. And they just had this like global warming discussion of like what would happen if, and it was like flooding. And then it was like, they kind of like dismiss it a little bit, like, ha ha. And then there's like flooding and they're like, oh, shit.
Oops. Spoke too soon. So there's a pump key to being the flooding in check, but Yoshizu and Goru are missing.
Yes.
And so Sugeru, he's kind of our hero of the movie, Sugeru Kawamura. He's our main character. He and three men go down to check out the flood, and they find Yoshizu's... Somebody's bleeping me.
Uh-oh.
Let me turn that down. Tad's telling me my laundry is ready.
No, Dad!
I told you I was recording.
I'm making a podcast!
All right, I'm leaving that in. So, they find Yoshizu. Yoshizu's body, and back up top, they clean off the body right there in the mine, apparently, in the mine infirmary.
Yeah. Yes, and like this is like the weirdest little like just let's just spray him down. We'll just spray him off.
There appears to be a large body cleaning basin in the mine infirmary, and some people, including some nurses, I think, are cleaning the body, and they determine that this is no accident. There's a sharp head wound, and it's already been reported to the police.
Mm-hmm.
And then a distraught family shows up, and some guy lies to them and says they're treating him now.
Yeah.
I don't know what the hell that was about. He's dead already. They're not.
Yeah, I think they were just trying to calm her down, but it's super weird. This is kind of something that we've seen a few times, I feel like, in these movies of like someone's like, I'm gonna like lie, everything's fine, no one's dead here. Da, 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 da.
Nothing to see. Move along.
Yeah.
Goro is still missing and is now a suspect.
Right, because they're always fighting.
Yep.
But it's cool though, because our hero of the movie, in true hero fashion, is like, hey, don't spread rumors.
Yes. And then we meet Kyo, Goro's sister, the Japanese Grace Kelly.
Mm-hmm. Which is weird. Do you think that I heard someone pronounce her name as like Kitiyota or something.
I noticed that a lot of the times the sounds did not match up with the written words.
Yeah. Okay.
Though I don't know if sometimes they were adding a san at the end,
Mm-hmm.
to like sir, like Segura-san. And I think that was what was going on in a few places. But it seemed like a lot of the proper names were not being pronounced the way they were spelled.
Yeah.
But Seguro doesn't believe it, and he tries to be reassuring to Kyo.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
They appear to sort of have a romance happening, but nothing too steamy.
Yeah. It seems
But
like maybe seems like they're just really close in a like kind of in an intimate way, but not like physically, I guess.
It's just weird. The thing is, maybe they're already involved so that we don't have to see they don't have to be really over the top about it. I mean, there's a tendency in Japanese culture not to show affection in public.
Yeah.
So that could be part of it, but there's no part where he's like actively wooing her or anything. But later when he's hurt, it does seem to fall to her to take care of him.
Yeah.
Which is what makes me think they're some kind of a couple. Then we see a roll call outside. They're checking to see if everybody's here. Everybody's here except for the guards and Goro. So he's still missing.
Mm-hmm.
And we see 3 guards in a tunnel above the flooding discussing that Goro must still be down there, and they go to look. And then we hear a weird sound.
Yeah, a weird sound right after someone says that Goro's being a real pain in the ass.
Yeah. And it reminded me of a little of the ants in Them. The sound.
Same. I wrote it down. I wrote that down. Sound kind of reminds me of Them! Exclamation point.
Yeah. So they proceed, and there's more sound, and something under the water grabs the guy in front. Mm-hmm. And the second guy shoots and also goes under, but the third guy gets away. And the second guy's wearing some kind of a military cap when he probably should be wearing a hard hat. A helmet like the other guys. I thought that was a terrible safety violation. I didn't.
Especially since he's the guy with the gun.
But that third guy tries to call for help, but the shadows. There's a shadow on the wall, and then the shadow gets him.
Right, and
So
we see we see at this point, right, that the thing, whatever it is, we don't know yet, is just killing these people, right? They're not like eating them or. Like it's just killing them, right?
No, it seems to be leaving full bodies behind.
Yeah.
It's cutting them with something sharp and leaving the entire body behind. So that's just wasteful.
Yeah, I thought that was weird.
Well, a lot of these monsters don't seem to eat like they should, and yet they grow really big. They get so big without taking in any nutrients. I don't know how they do it. It's weird. But somehow the bodies are recovered and taken to the corpse washing tub. And then there's what I think are a bunch of reporters on phones and a meeting in the chief engineer's office.
Mm-hmm.
And this doctor guy, turns out he's I just kept writing doctor, but later we find out he's Professor Kiyoshiro, guy in a suit with glasses. He says he's never seen such graphic murders.
Yeah.
Even the most hardened criminals couldn't kill 4 strong men one after another. And this might be a different doctor. One of the guy's head was almost taken off by something like a sharp sword, but he's got no idea what it is. I can't remember now if that's the professor or some other doctor. We get a number of doctors in this movie.
Yeah. Yeah.
And then Otami goes to confront Kyo as if she had anything to do with anything, but she's grieving. I believe this is the wife of one of the dead guys, and she's grieving and striking out. So everybody still suspect Goro, and Kyo is Goro's sister, so she's gonna go give her what for, but others calm her down and take her away. And Shigeru stops by, and there's a lot of crying. But he says he knows for sure it wasn't Goro because the other victims were friends of his.
Yeah.
Unlike the first victim. So it's not adding up. And don't give up hope. Then at 17 minutes and 27 seconds, we get our first monster, but it's not Rodan.
Yeah, which I thought was awesome. I thought that was so cool that we had I thought it was really cool because I had read the summary. Yeah, the synopsis. And was like, ooh, a pterodactyl, and then I saw this thing, which looks like a giant
that's
like
not a
Muppet. Yeah, like a giant Muppet of like a silverfish, basically, is what this thing looks like. And I was like, what the hell? Like, what does a baby pterodactyl look like? Like, shouldn't it look like a bird or something? But then I realized, okay, this is why this is sounds like a them too. It's some sort of bug of some sort. So I liked it. I liked that there was extra monsters.
Well, this thing is we later find out is called a mega neuron, which is one of their made up things.
Isn't it a dragonfly larva?
They said they look like dragonfly larvae, but the name mega, which are a thing, but the term mega neuron is just one of their made up kaiju names. But it just shows up at Kyo's door. It's left the mine and come all the way up the street and decided to go into her house. I guess
it's like, yo, brother told us you lived here.
This reminds me of Norm Macdonald's moth joke.
Okay.
Should I try to tell this joke?
Yeah, I mean, why not?
I'm gonna try to tell this joke, but then I might cut it later. I don't know.
Okay.
A moth comes into a podiatrist's office. The podiatrist says, "Oh, hello. How can I help you?" And he's like, "Yeah, I'm a moth, and I don't know what to do. I don't feel any joy in life. I get no satisfaction from being a moth. I was looking at my wife the other day, and I realized that I didn't love her anymore. My whole life is just an empty charade. When I look at my son, I don't see myself reflected in him. He seems like a stranger to me. I don't know him, and I don't feel for him like I should. I have no connection with the rest of society. I feel like I have no place in the world. I used to get solace from going to church, but now I feel like there is no God and everything is just empty and meaningless. The other day I was walking down the street and I saw the autumn leaves falling, and the colors used to bring me such joy, but now all I can see is the death of the leaves as they fall to the ground and blow around pointlessly. Everything is just dark, empty void, and I don't know what to do or how to get back the life that I once had. And the doctor says to him, "Wow, that's terrible. But it sounds like you need a psychiatrist. I'm a podiatrist. Why did you come in here?" And the moth says, "Well, your light was on."
Oh my gosh. That was the saddest, darkest joke.
What's it? You're supposed to try to. It's a joke that you're supposed to drag out for as long as you can
Oh my god.
until you get to the punchline. That's just a ridiculous moth based punchline.
Wow. I wish you could see me because I just had my hand over my mouth like, what the fuck?
I've never told that joke before, so I was just improvising, but that was as long as I could go on.
Brilliant.
Norm Macdonald tells that joke on Conan O'Brien and drags it out quite a bit.
Oh my
so
god.
this mega neuron apparently just showed up because their light was on. And he just barges in unannounced. They run for help, and the police or guards or whatever these guys are come rather quickly and shoot, and the monster gets one of them.
Yeah, but before he does, when they're like shooting, he puts up his little pinchers, like his little arms, like his little hands, like, don't shoot.
Hands up. Don't shoot.
Don't shoot.
But he gets one of them and they run away and start evacuating everyone to Nishimachi. The air raid sirens start going off and people start evacuating. And then they say that it's headed for the slag heap. Let's go. And Shigeru leads soldiers or whatever these guys are. I think we find out later that they are meant to be police.
Mm-hmm.
Because we meet Police Chief Nishimura, but maybe it's because I'm not Japanese. I don't recognize what a Japanese police uniform looks like. But there's a lot of times in here when I'm not clear: are these armed men military, police, or mine security? I don't know. But whoever they are, they chase after the monster. It is climbing the slag heap. And the men try to follow it up. They act like they're trying to sneak up on it.
Yeah.
And then they open fire, but they're kind of bad shots. Mm-hmm. And I wrote another one bites the dust. And then the monster grabs a guy and he and the man tumble down the hill.
Yeah.
And then somehow two men are being dragged down the hill, but I didn't see two of them attacking the monster, but somehow they pick up an extra guy as they're rolling down the hill or something, and they are both dead.
I love this part too because when they fall down the hill, it like shows that, and then the camera goes back to the guys like kind of watching this situation. The guy just says, "Damn it." Yeah. It's just like he just looks at the other guy and says, "Damn it."
Damn it. I mean, what else can you say?
Yeah, exactly. It was just so funny.
But I think the monster gets away, yeah?
Yeah.
And there's a doctor on site, and he examines it and declares that this is the killer, this monster, by looking at the wounds. The monster crawls away as bodies are removed, is what I have. Back at the office, Nishimura calls police headquarters for backup. That's when we realize he's the police chief. Mm-hmm. I wrote down, they are the police. Handguns are useless. He's very angry that their handguns are useless. A guy reports that the monster broke through the barricade and went into the mine. So apparently it exited the mine to do a little light killing and then went right back in.
Oh, that's too easy.
But it didn't feed on anyone or anything.
Yeah,
it's just a psychotic larva.
It's just like, fuck you, yep. You're cool, fuck you.
So they go check and they find a wounded guy at the barricade and they order it to be boarded up. And a guy wants to go look for Goru, who might still be in the mine, but he's told it's too dangerous. I don't know why they think Goru is still going to be alive at this point.
I know. Or I think, do they think he's like maybe hiding out because he killed these people? Because I know the other guy doesn't think that he killed them, but maybe they still do.
In the beginning they did, but at this point they know it's the monster. So they should have figured out by now that the monster
he's dead.
has probably killed him.
Yeah, and they're not in there drinking a beer together.
Yeah. So reinforcements come out in trucks or jeeps or something, and somebody yells, "Dismount!" Or at least that's what the subtitle tells us he's saying. So I guess they're still using old-fashioned military terms. They dismount from their trucks.
Beep, beep, send the Jeep.
I guess they're still police, but they are dressed like army, and they quick time it up to the barricade and set up a heavy machine gun. Again, so many police forces seem to have various
Machine
automatic
guns.
weapons. Yeah, but these
I
guys
thought it was
not only they don't just have submachine guns; they have heavy machine guns.
Yeah, and I thought it was weird that you would take a machine gun into a mine. Like, it just feels like, is that safe?
You think the close quarters are gonna make it ricochet, or
I don't know. Yeah, I mean, or like make everything like, the mine collapse.
true? Yeah. Well, I think it ends up doing that.
Yeah, I mean, it seems super unsafe to shoot a weapon in a mine. I don't know. I've never been in a mine, but like common sense in my brain says like, oh, maybe that's not safe to shoot anything in an enclosed area.
Sometimes there's gases down there too. They could be.
Yeah. I was like, ooh, machine gun in a mine? What the?
But they set up the heavy machine gun here in the tunnel and say light machine guns go further in.
Mm-hmm.
The water is receding, and they find Goru's body. And maybe that's just why they couldn't find it before.
Yeah, and those in the water.
We see the monster, and they fire and retreat. And then Seguro gets an idea to release the coal wagon. They're all through this mine. There are those tracks with the coal wagons.
Very Indiana Jones.
Yes, he runs up to the top and he says, "I'm going to release the coal wagon," and then he rides it partway down.
Yeah.
Why? He doesn't. It's on a track. It's on a track. He doesn't need to steer it. He doesn't need to aim it at the monster. He's just trying to look cool, I guess. I don't know why. But it smashes into the monster, and I wrote, "Nope, not dead." But then maybe it was dead because they yelled out, "There's more of them." So it seems like they might have killed the first one, and then they see that there are more of them. And somebody says, "Please shoot." And there's a bit of a cave-in, just as you were concerned about.
Yeah.
And it gets one of them, but it also traps our boy Shigeru.
No.
And back at the office, they are looking at pictures. We get another one of these monster mugshot scenes.
Yeah.
And
at least they're actual pictures and not cartoon drawings this time.
But there are some of those later.
Yeah.
And the doc says, I think it's the professor, says they are dragonfly larvae. Mm-hmm. There are fossil records of giant dragonfly called Megalon, which, as I said before, is just a made-up kaiju name. And they speculate that the eggs were laying under the coal bed, and when the temperature and humidity was right, they hatched. And compares this idea to 1,000-year-old seeds that are still viable.
Mm-hmm.
And then some reporter, Zeki from the West Japan Times, comes in, and he's going to hang around for the rest of the movie, just reporting on stuff. And they speculate that a tectonic shift created the environment for these eggs to hatch. I wrote down Kawamura. I think they're worried about Shigeru. They're talking about him being missing.
I also have it written down, Kawamura. Oh, I have because he has total... Wait, I'm not sure what this note is.
He doesn't have the amnesia yet, so I don't know.
Yeah, I'm not sure.
I think it might just be the first time we're hearing his last name.
Yeah, I think you're right.
Then there's an earthquake, and then the phone rings at the Earthquake Research Institute. Saragawa answers the phone. The professor is calling to ask why there was an earthquake and was it an eruption. And he can't say for sure, but there's definitely a tectonic shift, and the epicenter is between the crater and the mine. There's a volcanic crater nearby and a dormant volcano lurking underneath it. And we are going to check it out. Okay, so a bunch of them go to check it out, and they get stopped on the road by some farmers who are pointing, and we see that they go up to the edge of a big matte painting of a trench in the ground. And somebody speculates that the earthquake was not big enough to have caused this. So what did? I guess the monster?
Or maybe shooting a fucking machine gun in a cave.
And they see that there's someone down there, and it's Shigeru Kawamura.
Kawamura.
And they all run down there, and for some reason, the reporter introduces himself. I don't know.
Yeah.
He's wounded, and he's crawling around on the ground, and they go to help him, and the reporter introduces himself.
He's like, wow, fancy meeting you here.
So they all arrive at I wrote hospital and crossed it out and wrote mine office. I think they took him to the mine office first.
They're like, here, wash your face in this tub.
And they discover he has total amnesia. Why is he not in the hospital? And I made note that the Japanese sure are tough compared to the guy in Beast from 20,000 Fathoms. Because that guy has a little bit of a trauma and then just hangs out in the hospital for weeks and weeks.
And leaves whenever he wants.
Yeah. This guy has total amnesia and severe head injury and just up and about at the office and like, well, maybe we'll take you to the hospital when we think about it.
He's fine.
And his lady friend, Kyo, comes in and he looks scared.
Yeah.
He looks frightened by her. I don't know what that's about.
I think he's just frightened by the fact that, like, yeah, like she knows him and he doesn't know her.
Just the experience of she's clearly acting like she knows me and I don't know who she is.
Yeah.
Distressing.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, that could be distressing. I see that. So they say they have to do everything they can to help him recover. One of the doctors says only 1 in 10,000 is total amnesia. And he may never recover. So he is the 1 in 10,000 that has total amnesia, and he may never recover. So let's get him to the clinic. Finally.
Good idea.
Get that poor man to the clinic. So later at the clinic, he's hooked up to a machine with squiggle paper on it.
Mm-hmm.
You know, the kind that it's got a little pen that squiggles back and forth. It's measuring something.
Yeah, either a lie detector test or maybe he's having a, what is it called when you're having a baby? Contractions.
Okay. Well, they're monitoring something, his heartbeat or something, or his pulse on this squiggle paper and telling him to open his eyes and close his eyes and take deep breaths. And they have him look at some monster mug shots. And at one point, he kind of looks like he's remembering, and then he lays down and clutches its head.
Mm-hmm.
And then the police get a call from the Mount Aso Volcano Research Center, not to be confused with the Earthquake Research Institute, to warn them that there are signs of an impending eruption, and they should forbid access to the crater until further notice. And there's airplanes at the airbase and a plane headed for Fukuoka. Oh, they report. So the airplanes have picked up something. They've seen something or picked up something on the radar.
Yes.
The plane is heading for Fukuoka. Its nationality is unknown. It's at 20,000 feet and moving at supersonic speed. And they tell his pilot to stay in pursuit. Kitahara, I think, is the pilot.
Mm-hmm.
And he repeats back, pilot reports back, other planes? There's some other planes. At 37 minutes and 22 seconds, we finally get a glimpse of Rodan, who is the other plane, and he's doing loop-de-loops. And he also has a condensation trail.
Yeah.
I get that. I guess it's there so we can just clearly see where he's in the sky from a distance. But I don't see any reason
other than that.
Yeah, no.
I was thinking does it have to do with like how fast he's going? Maybe like through the. I have no idea.
Well, it's caused by the temperature difference between the jet and the air outside, and it causes the air to condensate quickly in a trail behind the plane. And Rodan is not flying through jet power.
Maybe he just got a hot ass.
I guess so.
Rodan is spicy.
So they're over the city now on the other plane. He's still calling it. His speed is 1.5 times mine. Still don't know what it is. Stay in pursuit. And then the pilot tells us it's coming straight at me. It's huge. And
Slice.
38 minutes, 14 seconds, we get an actual. So at 37:22, we just saw the plane doing the loop-de-loops. It was
Yeah,
from
like a
distance.
blob.
We couldn't tell what it was. At 38:14, we get a proper glimpse of Rodan, and the plane just cracks as he flies past it.
Yeah, and it's pretty brutal. Like you see, like the blood splatter, and it's a little gruesome.
Yeah, and then they cut to some guys standing around the guy's bloody helmet.
Yeah.
Discussing
like,
whether it's a flying, and they're discussing whether it's a flying saucer or a secret weapon.
Mm-hmm.
And a phone rings for the reporter. IBOA plane is gone missing. Flying saucer over East China Sea. Beijing radio reporting a UFO.
Mm-hmm.
We start seeing a bunch of reporters on
yeah. And in the
announcers
Philippines,
telling us what's going on. The Philippines are under martial law.
They're calling it a creature.
Yeah, flying creature. The Filipino reporter seems to know that it's a creature and it's approaching the city. In the Okinawa telegraph office is either getting or sending a message about the UFO is heading south at supersonic speed, 30 miles west of Naha. And then the Tokyo News asks if Earth is under attack.
Mm-hmm.
And the guy says the destruction caused by the flying saucer has been truly mind-boggling. And I wrote, what destruction? They just they skipped they just had a bunch of reporters telling us his progress, but didn't show any of it.
Yeah, which is kind of smart, actually, as far as like budget goes.
Yeah, so by smart you mean cheap.
Yeah.
But they don't even just.
Where I'm from.
He just seems to be going from place to place, and they don't really talk about what he's doing until the guy just says he's caused a bunch of destruction.
Right. Yeah.
And then somebody is saying, I think it's still a anchor person is saying it can't be one object because it attacked Beijing at 11 a.m. and Manila at 11:20 a.m. I did not get on Google Earth to see what the distance between Beijing and Manila is. But I assume they're pretty far apart so that they're certain even at supersonic speed it couldn't get there that quickly.
Yeah.
So then we get this young couple.
Yeah, what the hell are they doing?
They're trying to do a sexy photo shoot, I think. They're going, well, not sexy exactly, but exotic. They're want to go see the crater, the volcanic crater. And it's closed, but the guy claims his friend will get us in. And they have a photo shoot there. And the girl's wearing sort of almost a wedding dress kind of thing.
Mm-hmm.
Then Rodan comes flying by and she sees it and screams and they start to run away and she falls and the guy keeps going. But he falls just a few yards later. Doesn't do him any good. And apparently Rodan kills them just by flying over them.
Yeah.
Because he's flying so fast or beating his wings so hard that the wind he leaves behind is enough to kill you.
I noticed at this part in the movie that all of the deaths leading up to this point were like in twos.
Okay.
Yeah, like the first death was like the two friends who fought, and then there was like the other two guys in and then now these two. Like it's been in twos so far up to this point. I don't know if that's important. I just noticed it.
I guess no one wants to die alone.
Yeah.
So then we cut to the reporters. I think one of them is the reporter we've been following, but some other reporters talking about it. And one of them has her shoe. Mm-hmm. Why don't the police have her shoe? This makes no sense to me. But they're saying it's not a double side. They don't believe that. They seem to know the photographer and that he wasn't that kind of guy. And then our man Izaki says one of my favorite lines. It's right up there with I'll feed you cows to Godzilla. He says, in most suicide cases, both shoes are left together. Okay, sure, I suppose.
Wow.
I mean, is it, when Japanese people commit suicide, do they like take their shoes off and leave them both there together? Is that what he's telling? I don't understand what he's telling us.
Yeah, I'm not sure either. Just mostly that shoes are, maybe that's like just like proof that she was like running away or she was,
Yeah. Well, no, he's using it as some kind of proof. He's trying to use it as some kind of proof that it wasn't a suicide.
Right.
But it just seems like a weird thing to declare as
like
a fact.
weird fact. Yeah.
Yeah. I'm a newspaper man. I've been around, and let me tell you, in most suicide cases, both shoes are left together. But then I think the reporters mentioned this, that cows have been stolen near Mount Aso.
Mm-hmm.
So our monsters like to snack on the cows. So maybe they're
Snack on
actually
the cows.
maybe somebody actually ate something instead of just killing it and leaving it behind. And
so.
they've developed the film that was in the camera, and they look happy. But they're one of the last frame, the last piece of film has the corner of a wing, and they're just looking at the negatives. But then we cut to the professor. They have printed out the photo, and he's saying it's like an animal. And this is so weird. They take a drawing of some sort of pterodon and line it up with the photo.
Yeah, with his wing and his little toes.
And the wing and the photo and a little piece of his body line up exactly, which is just so weird. And they say, yes, it must be this pteranodon, but it only has a 28-foot wingspan. It's too small to take down a plane. I'm calling bullshit on that.
Yeah, it was total bullshit. This is another one of those like cartoon drawings moments.
Yeah, but the reporter thinks that is a good explanation of because an animal would take a pteranodon would take animals and people, and they point out that
the dragonfly babes are from the same time period.
Yeah, so this all makes perfect sense. But if Kawamura recovers, we might learn what's going on. And we cut to him in it looks like he's in the hospital. His head's all bandaged up in his wrist, and he's sketching. And Kyo's there, and she's taking care of some birds, and has a little bird nest, and she's like, oh, look, they're gonna have babies, and takes the bird nest out of the cage to show him. And this triggers his trauma.
Yeah, people, if you ever see a bird's nest or come around birds' eggs or anything, leave them there, please. You can just call the person, come look at this, and he could stand up and look at it. She doesn't have to take the nest out of the bird cage.
Yeah.
Anyway.
Well, I thought that was a little odd that it was in the bird cage to start with. So, but I guess it can work that way.
Yeah.
If you give your caged birds enough material, they'll build a nest out of it. And the bird starts hatching as he's holding it, and we get a flashback to him in the cave. There's bats, and there are the giant larvae, which we never see them at any point evolve into the giant dragonflies.
Yeah, I was really sad about that. I was disappointed about that.
But there's a whole bunch of them in the cave, and then he sees a giant egg. The thing is huge.
Yeah, I was really glad they showed him next to it to see how giant it was.
Right? Yeah. I thought it was a pretty good looking. It's clearly him standing and staring at a painting, but I thought
of course.
It looked good.
It
Impressive.
did. It looked really good, yeah.
And Rodan hatches and starts feeding on the larva. So somebody is finally eating something.
Yes, and can we just also point out that Rodan looks like a giant chicken? He does. He looks like a giant chicken.
A naked chicken, though. He doesn't have any feathers.
Yeah.
But watching this absolutely terrifies Shigeru. It's not clear if it's just the size of the thing, or that it's feeding on these things. I thought these things were huge monsters, and now this thing is so big, it's just snapping them up.
I want to say too, the monster sound, Chef's Kiss. This movie, I liked the monster sound. It was really good.
Good. Rodan starts flapping up a storm, and we cut back to Shigeru in bed having a panic attack, and then his amnesia seems to have broken, but now he's got reverse amnesia. Because he recognizes her, so he's remembered her, But then he asks her what happened to me. So by remembering her, he now has to have forgotten what happened. I'm not clear.
No, I think what it is because he had total amnesia, so he hasn't. Maybe he's just remembering pieces at a time.
Okay.
Like he had, like little pieces at a time. So he's not 100% sure.
I guess. But she says he's got his memory back, and then we get more monster mugshots.
Mm-hmm.
And I think he identifies Rodan, and they ask him to confirm that he saw it grow larger as it ate the larva in the pit. And they want him to help us find it.
Yeah, I thought this was weird. Like, oh, good, your memory's back. You want to go right back to where you had a huge freak out and show us, help us out?
Well, I'm telling you, Japanese tough. They're not going to gold brick in a hospital for 2 weeks like those. I was going to say American, but he was Swedish, I think. Listeners, please go back and listen to all our old episodes so you can be in on the references to the previous 10 movies that we've watched. So the police and the miners go searching in the mine and find the cave where he thinks he's thing, but there's no egg. They dig around a little bit though and find a piece of eggshell,
which is huge.
Yeah, and it's really thick. It's like, I don't know, 4 or 5 inches thick. Yes, it does seem to be styrofoam. And then there starts to be another cave in, and they all got to get out. We cut to the professor studying the shell. The results are almost the results are that it's almost all calcium, 90% calcium. And he says that under the electron microscope, it looks exactly like a chicken egg. That is not an electron microscope that he is looking in. That is a basic, standard, cheap-ass school laboratory microscope.
That's hilarious.
I was incensed.
You were just like,
but he was like, what? Don't give me that shit. But you couldn't have built a prop. I know you don't want to buy a real electron microscope, but you could have made a prop one.
Sure.
So, but they're going to try to use the curvature to determine the size of the egg.
Mm-hmm.
And we cut to the Miami Physics Research Institute, not to be confused with the Volcanic Research Center or the Earthquake Research Institute. And they are passing around some kind of paper readout. The professor is there, and the guys that work at that institute are there, and they're passing around a paper that's got some figures on it, and say that the guy says the egg is like a giant bird from the Arabian Nights. He is referring to the roc, spelled R-O-C. And that is your educational moment, this podcast.
The more you know.
But he finds it hard to believe that it could, such a thing could be real. But countless strange things exist in the world or something. And the professor thanks him for confirming his conjecture. I noted that this room that they're in could have been in any of the other offices we've seen before. It probably is just all filmed in the same building. Yeah,
surely. Is this where he mentions the hydrogen bomb testing that it could possibly be?
I think so. Yes,
I think so too.
Well, no, right after this. He thanks the guy for confirming his conjecture, but he doesn't tell us what his conjecture was. And then we get to emergency headquarters.
Okay,
the professor's talking about how the pteranodon is the largest flying species ever recorded, and judging from the shell, this wingspan must be 270 feet and weigh 100 tons. And the wings would produce sonic booms capable of great destruction. And then the police chief asks him what caused Rodan to hatch. And he says, I can't say for certain, but hydrogen bomb tests. Yay. But I don't know for sure.
Yay.
But it was hydrogen. But it was totally hydrogen bombs.
Yeah. And is this a different... Sorry, go ahead.
Oh, the bomb tests contaminate air and water and exert powerful influence on the Earth's crust.
And
main source of energy away Rodan from his 200 million year slumber. Go ahead.
Wow. I was going to ask, is this like in the same, what am I trying to say? I guess like, is this the same universe as Godzilla?
Yes and no.
Okay.
It will be the same universe.
Okay, but it's not yet.
They don't make any mention of Godzilla.
Right.
Or that anything like this has happened before.
Never happened. Right. Okay.
But Rodan will appear in later Godzilla movie. And I have no idea when they made this, if they intended for that to be the case and just wanted to give him his own movie first.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think it's safe for us to assume that this is happening in the same world. But you think somebody would have brought up, say, well, this is kind of like that Godzilla case from a couple of years ago, which is why I suspected that was caused by hydrogen bombs. This is probably also caused by hydrogen bombs. Yeah. So maybe it's kind of a little bit of a retcon later on that these happen in the same world.
Mm-hmm.
But we're going to see a lot of movies like this where some standalone movie then incorporated into the Godzilla universe. It happens with Mothra. There's a submarine movie called Atragon, I think, that is later rolled into the Godzilla verse.
Weird.
Because they're all made by the same company, so why not?
Yeah.
Well, but the professor does say he's not certain, so don't rush to conclusions.
Mm-hmm.
Got to figure out where he emerges, and he does a little bit of map work. We see a lot of map work in these movies. It's always somebody pointing to a map.
Oh, the good old days.
Yeah, but he thinks he's going to emerge somewhere between the mines and the Mount Oso crater. So watch this line between the crater and the depression zone. I don't know where depression zone is. Maybe that's some side effect of mining. Maybe after you mine out an area, it collapses and causes a depression zone. I'm just guessing. I don't know.
I don't either.
Then we cut to Jeeps rolling along the road, and then they just happen to stop right near where Rodan is emerging. Almost all of our main characters, except for Kyo, are there. The professor, and Marianne. The professor, the police chief, Shigeru, who is a mining engineer, and the reporter, Zaki, they're all in this Jeep. Then they say to alert HQ, and one of the Jeeps speeds off to do that, and Rodan flies after it and just by flying over it, turns it over and flings it off the side of the road and just wrecks it.
Yeah,
and then the guys that are standing outside of their vehicles, they all hit the dirt, and he passes over, and they manage to not get killed.
Mm-hmm.
And the call comes into HQ. Planes are deployed. They chase Rodan. Shoot. There's no effect. Rodan seems to disable 2 planes just by flying past them.
Yeah, I like how they did the Rodan point of view camera, kind of like they did in Tarantula. I like the monster point of view cameras where they're like moving around and we kind of like get their angle for a second.
Okay. The HQ says there's no response from planes 2 and 3. Imamura
probably because they're toys.
Yep. One of the pilots, Imamura, calling command. Rodan is over Sadeso. They tell him to lure him out to the sea. There's 2 planes and then 4 planes. Air raid sirens. We get people in the city doing a look up in the sky kind of thing. Planes shoot some more, and there's a bunch of people on a bridge gawking.
Yeah.
And some lady who's sort of a bus stewardess is like, it's dangerous. Get back to the buses.
I guess.
She's got a very official little cap.
I was like, why is this child yelling at all these people?
I don't know. She had some kind of little cap, like she worked for the bus company.
Oh, okay. I was like, what the hell? Why is this little girl?
And she tries to get everyone back in the buses that are for some reason parked at the end next to the bridge. Like they parked these buses and everybody got out, went on the bridge. I don't know. Maybe they might have been doing something else. And then Rodan just happens to come.
Yeah. Yeah. It's like a field trip or some shit.
Yeah. So the planes shoot some more, and Rodan dives into the water right near this, near what I think is the same bridge. One of the pilots says, "I got him." And they shoot more missiles into the water as they pass, and we get a bad special effect as one of the planes just flies through the bridge. Two of the planes fly under it, and one of them just flies through it. So somebody messed up with the double exposure or the mat work, whatever the hell it is. And they take another pass and shoot again. Rodan is not dead. He flies up out of the water, and his wires are very visible at this point.
Very apparent. I just put strings.
Yeah.
It doesn't even look like wire.
He flies too close to the bridge, and it collapses in his wake. And Rodan is flying towards Fukuoka, but our direct hits cut his speed in half. There are air raid sirens over Fukuoka, and the army deploys. And
we see toys everywhere.
Yes.
The toy city.
I couldn't read my own hand. I couldn't read my handwriting. Shops are closing up is what I wrote, but it looked like I wrote slops close up.
That too.
And here he comes. And Rodan flies over buildings and wrecks a hotel and the Asahi beer plant, apparently.
No.
And people are running, and he just flaps there and flaps around and just tears up the toy city, as you call it.
Yeah.
And that's where this is the scene where I was like, he looks like a damn marionette. There's so many wires, but
yeah, totally. He does. And he also has a little King Kong moment here at the bank where he looks through the bank and the people are like in the bank.
Yeah. And somebody says this is weird. They're like, surround it with tanks so it can't fly off. That is not how flying works. Except that apparently it is how flying works, because somehow this plan seems to work for a little while. There's an order to surround the sports center, and the tanks come in, they shoot, and they tear some shit up. And there's some kind of missile trucks, these trucks that have just a whole battery of missiles on the back in addition to the tanks. I wrote flap wreck. So he just does some more flapping, wrecking stuff. The truck flies into a building, and the army guys in the HQ run away. They were standing like by the window looking out, and they run away as Rodan wrecks the building. And there's some fire trucks and fire, and then a second Rodan spotted at 10,000 feet.
Woo, second Rodan.
And
shit, yeah.
The planes are ordered to try to lead them both out to sea. And the second Rodan comes and flies by and pushes, seems to, so they have him pinned down. For some reason, he can't just fly away. But the second one seems to me to push the tanks away enough for the first Rodan to escape.
Yeah.
And it's suddenly night, and our group of lead actors enter the HQ, and I don't know where the hell we are at this point. How did they get here? Where are they? At the Fukuoka HQ? Where were they before? I don't know. And how did they know to come here? And this seems like another one of these situation movies where somebody starts off in a certain position, but because they were there when shit started, they just get to go along to wherever it leads. So they get to start hanging out with the army and just going wherever, because I was there when it started.
Yeah.
So so you can't finish it up without me. They mentioned that the Hata area also had extreme damage, and we get a nighttime view of the city on fire. We don't need no water. Let the motherfucker burn. Because there's no sirens, no indication that anybody is doing anything to put out the city that is on fire. And then somebody tells us that Rodan is nowhere to be found, but he's definitely on Mount Aso, says the professor. He has a homing instinct, and the Aso is like his nest, or their nest. And get us a helicopter, or as Raymond Burr would say, a helicopter.
A helicopter.
And they get in a helicopter, and they spot Rodan in a crevice. And there's a bunch of smoke coming out of the crevice. And all the lead men are in the copter. Chief and the professor and the reporter and the mine engineer are all in this helicopter. And at HQ, they talk about their plan to fire artillery at the crater and then bomb the depression zone, which will stop them from escaping. This is their plan. And the volcano guy registers a complaint, says this will cause a massive eruption, but the army guy tells them that they could work to evacuate everybody. Don't worry about it. We'll just evacuate everybody before we set off a huge volcanic eruption.
No problem.
Yeah, it's not like volcanic eruptions ever wipe out whole cities or cause ash clouds that change the environment for miles around or for years to come. That never happens.
No.
And he says, and it's not just the city, though. What about all the animals? But the chief argues that we have to do it, and everybody makes sad faces. We cut to evacuations going on. Tanks and stuff roll in. Some guys yelling, don't panic. More evacuations, and they bring in a bunch of much bigger missiles. And what do I have here? Advanced Command. Nishimura, the police chief, is now working at the Advanced Command and seems to be in charge. So he has gotten some kind of field promotion, just like everybody does in these movies. And everybody's evacuated. First Strike Force report when ready. Shiguro sees Kyo out in the field. Everybody's supposed to be evacuated.
And she's just like so nonchalantly, just like walking. She's not running. She's not frightened. She is just like having a little mosey on in the field. Yeah, yeah. So he goes out to meet her, and she says, he's like, what the hell are you doing here? She says, I had to see you. And he says, thank you. And they go inside. So I guess they are a couple, definitely. If she just had to see him. Yeah.
You're not feeling it?
I just like the whole her like walking around the field just like pissed me off. I'm like, what the hell are you doing? Like, this is real life situation right here, you dumb broad. Like, what are you just walking around sniffing flowers and you not hear the alarms going off and the tanks and the guns and the fire? She's just like, la 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 la. Oh, hey, yeah, I'm so glad you're here. I had to see you. Like, oh my gosh.
So, well, now I wrote down this question here, but now I'm afraid to ask. So, Honeybee, when the shit hits the fan, are you going to come find me when this happens?
Yeah, of course. Okay. You know, as calm as humanly possible. I am just going to walk around and wait for you to spot me in a field and to run to me and say, what are you doing here? It's so dangerous. And I'll say, I just had to see you. And you'll say, thank you. Thank you. Now let's get inside, you dumbass. God.
Well, that's good to know. That's good to know. So the First Strike Force reports that they're ready. Open fire. They shoot up the mountain. A lot of shooting up the mountain. The volcano guy tells us eruption is imminent. We must evacuate. Let's pull back to the ridge at Kusasenri. And bang, bang, shoot, shoot. Jeeps and cars pull back. Bang, bang, some more. Spent a lot of time shooting up the landscape.
Yeah.
Second strike. And then the Second Strike Force is ready, and they open fire, and they shoot up the depression zone from which Rodan emerges. There is an eruption. There's a lot of lava. The two Rodans fly around, and then it's not clear to me exactly what happened to them, but somehow this all has an adverse effect, and one of them lands and sort of flops around near the lava.
Yeah, and go ahead.
I was just going to say, Kyo gets upset as she's watching this.
Yeah, it's pretty brutal.
Yeah, and then the second Rodan hovers over first. And is it dead? Yes, it's burning. The second one catches fire and rises up a little bit before it falls, and that was really harsh.
Mm-hmm. And the music, even the music that they're playing during this moment is like super sad and like weird. I was like, why are we so like sad that I don't know. I was like, this is the movie is telling us that monster struggle that we've had.
The movie's telling us that this is tragic, yes. And then the army is told to stand down, return to your home units. The burning Rodan flops around a bit more, and then Rodan die, everybody cry, the end. I guess
end.
I guess maybe all the shelling sort of injured them while they were underground. It's really unclear because it looks like they burst out and it looks like they're going to escape and then just being near
Flop.
the lava.
Yeah, it was
What was
really. I said, and then flop. They just flopped around.
Yeah.
Like, ah.
Yeah. Maybe the fumes from the overcame them. I don't know.
Yeah, it was very unclear. It was kind of weird. I also wrote down if you've ever seen Mulan, there's this line where Mushu says, "Chicken boy, say that to my face, you limp noodle." And and so I wrote that down as Rodan's voice. "Chicken boy, say that to my face, you limp noodle." But yeah, it was weird. It was weird, him just like, or them just flopping around, dying in this fire. I was like, okay, that's, well, the end.
Yep. But you still liked it.
I did like it. Yeah, I mean, especially coming out of the last two movies, which was the Hollow Mountain and, Tarantula was good, but it came from beneath the sea was bad, pretty bad. And then Tarantula was like, all right. But then Hollow Mountain was just like, ooh. So I feel like Rodan's bringing us back on the up and up of, okay, at least we're watching better
Well,
things.
I'm not sure how common it is, but in Godzilla Singular Point, which is the recent anime, the idea of multiple Rodans is in there. A lot, not just two, a whole lot of Rodans are in that one.
Oh, damn.
But I don't know how often I don't know how often there are multiple Rodans. So that, I guess we'll wrap it up for this episode.
Safety first. Wrap it up, kids.
Please like and subscribe and all that stuff. Tell all your friends. Email us. Send us a voice message. Let us know who you are, where you're listening from. And as always, we won't see you, but you will hear us next time on Monster Movie Fun Time Go.
Monster Movie Fun Time Go! Rah!
You've been listening to Monster Movie Fun Time Go. If you enjoyed the show, please rate and review us on your podcasting platform of choice. Our theme song is by the Texicano folk rock punk featuring Lita Lopez. You can support the show, find links to our social media, and even leave us a voice message at anchor.fm/MNFTG.
Fun time go!